When James came home, bruised in heart and spirit, Diep tried her best to hold him together. But his mother could no longer remain silent. She finally revealed why his father's anger ran so deep, why every lie, every threat, every cruel plan had been aimed at tearing them apart. The truth she carried didn't just explain everything, it shattered James's world in a single moment. The morning sun spread gently across the yard, catching in the rows of young greens James had planted during the quiet weeks he and Diep had labored to rebuild their fragile peace. Dew clung to the leaves, glittering like tiny glass beads in the soft light. James crouched by the edge of a garden bed. Trimming the water spinach with quiet, steady movements. This was not the kind of work he had grown up doing, but it grounded him. Real, honest, simple. A world far removed from the manipulations, the pressure, the fear he had lived under for so long. Diep stood on the porch, watching him for a moment. She admired the ease in his posture, the focused calm in his hand. Yet she also saw the tension beneath, the way his shoulders were just a little too rigid. The way he hesitated now and then, as if pushing back memories he did not want to face. She stepped down from the porch. "You already started without me." Her voice was soft. Gentle, a whisper of normalcy. James looked up. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. "If we wait for both of us to wake up on time," he teased lightly, "this garden will die before next month." Diep laughed, for a breath. It felt as though the world outside didn't exist. Shaking her head. Then, footsteps on the gravel path. It was Mrs. Both turned instinctively. Huyen, James's mother. She appeared with a small bag of fruit in her hands, but there was something heavy in her expression. Something neither James nor Diep missed. As she stepped into the yard, her eyes softened at the sight before her, James tending vegetables. Diep smiling beside him, a picture of peace she had wanted for her son long ago. "Mom," James said quietly, wiping his hands on his pants before greeting her. "You didn't tell us you were coming." They moved to the porch. Diep poured tea and brought fruit to the table. James sat opposite his mother, his shoulders straight, his posture strong, but there was a storm in his eyes. A storm he fought desperately to keep contained. Huyen reached out, gently touching his wrist. "Mrs., you look thinner." "I'm fine," he replied softly. She studied him. She hadn't seen him in weeks, and the change unsettled her. She did not recognize his smile anymore, it did not reach his eyes. He was thinner. Exhausted. What happened between you and your father? She asked, her voice gentle but heavy with concern. James looked away, his jaw flexed. It's complicated, he said, letting the words hang between them. Silence pressed into the three of them, heavy, unbearable. She drew a slow breath. Diep finally broke it. There's something you should know, she began. Diep hesitated, then spoke softly. Huyen leaned forward. Mrs. The man came to the house. Mrs. Huyen froze. Diep continued, her voice low but steady. He came more than once, sometimes from far away. He told me to stay away from James. James didn't react with surprise. Sometimes closer. Only a tightening of his jaw, the kind born of memories he wished to forget. Huyen looked horrified. Mrs. That man should still be in prison, she whispered. Your father. Her voice cracked as if the next words might break the fragile peace altogether. James straightened in his seat. Mrs. He wasn't acting alone. Huyen's breath caught. Diep's voice came soft, yet firm. He lured me overseas, said he needed my help on a project. Promised it was important for the future. But when I got there, there was nothing. Just empty rooms and pressure to stay. Diep lowered her eyes. No meetings, no project. He kept my passport, said it was for security. She paused. Diep placed a calming hand on James's back, but he barely felt it. I kept asking to come home. Her voice broke slightly. Every time I asked, it got worse. And while I was stuck there, that man was here, threatening Diep. Diep nodded gently. It wasn't your fault, she seemed to say. Mrs. Huyen lifted a trembling hand to her chest. Your father, he shouldn't have. James, I didn't know he would go that far. James stared at her. Hurt flashed beneath his anger. I can't do this anymore. Diep's voice quivered, but firm. I can't pretend he's just strict or misunderstood. He's hurting people I love, hurting me, and I'm done letting him control anything. She stood abruptly. The wooden table rattled. I'm going to confront him. I'm going to make him stop. No. The word tore from his mother's lips before she could stop herself. Mom, I have to. You can't. Her voice cracked. James frowned. You don't understand the danger. He's my husband. James shook his head slowly, determination in his eyes. He won't hurt me. He might, she whispered. Diep's breath froze. James looked at his mother as if he had misheard. What are you talking about? His voice low. Mrs. Huyen rose slowly, her hands trembling so violently she clasped them together to steady herself. James, if you confront him now, if you push him into a corner, a man like him? Her voice faltered. She looked at Diep, almost apologetically, then back to her son. The grief in her eyes was plain. He narrowed his eyes. What wounds? Her breath caught. I didn't want to tell you. She shook her head weakly. Not like this. James stepped closer, voice lowering to a whisper. Then tell me now. His mother looked away, then back at him. Tears glistening. Finally, she whispered, voice breaking. James, the truth will destroy you. It will destroy me too. He froze. She swallowed, gathering strength. She looked at him, and all at once, the words came crashing down like lightning splitting open the morning sky. You are not his biological son. Silence. Diep's hand flew to her chest. James did not breathe. Mrs. Huyen's body trembled, heartbreak tearing through her. The words hung between them like shards in the air. You're not his son. For those few seconds. The world seemed to tilt, quiet, unreal, weightless. Diep reached instinctively for his arm, but he did not move. His eyes remained locked on his mother, searching, questioning, trying to make sense of something that should have been impossible. Finally his voice came, low, rough. What do you mean? Mrs. Huyen wiped her wet cheeks with trembling hands. James, your father wanted a family more than anything. We tried for years. But he couldn't have one. In the end, we turned to another way. She faltered, voice barely above a whisper, but the meaning cut through the air clean. You came into our lives. We loved you from the moment we saw you. James's breath stuttered in his chest. The confession stabbed at him. She continued, each word trembling but deliberate. It was a wound he carried his entire life, hidden from the world. Even from me, from his colleagues, even from his business partners, but as you grew older, compassionate, strong, admired by people. Trusted by many, you became everything he was not. He began to fear something, that one day, someone would discover the truth. And he would lose everything, his legacy, his reputation, the empire he had spent a lifetime building. She took a shaky breath. The more he feared, the more desperate he became to control you. To keep you under him. James closed his eyes. To keep you dependent. The truth twisted inside him like a knife. Diep squeezed his forearm gently, grounding him, but he barely registered it. When you chose me, Diep's voice floated, soft but strong. His mother's lips quivered. Her voice cracked. You chose a life outside of his plans. He panicked, not because of who Diep was, but because loving her meant stepping out of his control. It threatened the only illusion he had left, that he was still a father, with power over his son. The room fell painfully still. James whispered, barely audible, "So he sent me overseas, to keep me away, yes." She nodded softly. When that wasn't enough, she added, voice trembling, he involved that man. A cold jolt ran through Diep. Part of her had already guessed. James's face darkened, not with fury, but with a deeper, more crushing grief. His mother wiped at her eyes again. "James, I never told you because I didn't want you to feel unwanted." "You have always been my son, always, nothing changes that." He looked at her. Something inside him cracked, a mix of hurt, betrayal, grief deeper than anger. "I don't even know who I am anymore," he whispered. She placed both hands on his cheeks. Diep stepped forward. "You are James," she said softly. "You are the man who helped me through every storm." The man who protects. The man NHI adores. Who works hard. Who loves with his whole heart. Tears filled his eyes. "You are never defined by blood." His eyes softened. Diep pulled him into her arms. Finally, tears spilled. He held her tightly, as if she were the only solid thing left in a collapsing world. Behind them, his mother watched through blurred vision. She had feared this moment for decades, and seeing her son break because of her silence felt like punishment she deserved. When James stepped back, something in his expression had changed. The shock was still there, but beneath it was resolve. He turned toward his mother. "Is this what you want me to do?" he asked quietly. "Pretend nothing happened? Let him keep controlling everything?" James's mother's voice cracked. "If you confront him now, he will be ruined. You don't understand. The company will be ruined." "Everything your family built could collapse." His gaze remained steady. He shook his head slowly, heavy certainty in his tone. "He already ruined it." "Mom." She flinched, then stepped closer, fear flickering in her eyes, not guilt this time. "James, you don't understand," she whispered. "But desperation. If you push him into a corner now, you won't just lose him as a father. You'll become the threat, the son he needs to eliminate." Her words dropped like a stone into the silent room. Diep inhaled sharply. James didn't look afraid, he looked like someone seeing the truth for the first time. His mother's voice broke through the quiet. "He's not a monster. He's a man, drowning in shame." And drowning men grab for anything nearby, even if it drags everyone down. A long silence followed. Slowly, Then James exhaled. He solidified. He did not collapse. I'm not going to destroy him, he said quietly. But I won't let him hurt us again. Diep nodded. Relief and worry mixed in her eyes. What will you do? His mother asked softly. James drew a deep, steady breath. I will protect Diep and NHI. I don't need a war. I don't need revenge, I just need freedom. His mother closed her eyes, tears fell. That's all I ever hoped for, she whispered, not healed, but no longer breaking. The room softened. Then James's phone began to vibrate on the table. All three turned toward the screen, and saw, Dad. Diep reached for his hand. You don't have to answer, she told him. His mother didn't breathe. James picked up the phone, voice steady. Not the boy who once sought approval. Grounded. But the man who finally understood himself. He lifted the phone to his ear. Hello. Some truths arrive quietly, and still shake a life to its core. Tonight, James stands at a crossroads he never expected, carrying questions no one ever prepares for. But even in the hardest moments, there was Diep's steady hand. There was a mother's trembling honesty. And sometimes, that's all a person needs to take the next step. Life has a way of testing us, of bending us. But it also shows us who will stay beside us when everything else falls apart. Whatever waits on the other end of that phone call, James won't face it alone.